Windows is slow, filled with programs you don't even use, and it's using super high resources but totally chill. Wait, don't go, because today we're going to teach you step by step and from scratch how to turn Windows into an ultra-fast machine.
Today, we will explore a tool from our colleague Chris Titus Stack together. Ready to discover more? As you can see, this is a standard installation of Windows 11. We still have the widgets, the start menu is in its classic form, the Microsoft Store is still there, and of course, Copilot is ready in the taskbar next to OneDrive. Let's dive into the details. So basically, this is a complete and normal Windows 11 Pro in its 24H2 version, which we have running right now. In this video, I want to show you how you can use CTT, the Chris Titus Touch utility for improving your Windows. This is a tool that every Windows user should know about. If you search on Google for the Chris Titus Touch Windows utility, you'll see that these two pages come up as the top results. As number one, it takes you to its website, and in second place, to its GitHub. It doesn't matter if you use the website or the GitHub page. What you're looking for are these launch commands, and here we show them to you. Now let's see how to run this utility. As point number one, copy the command from the stable branch, either from the official website or from the GitHub repository. As point number two, right-click on the Start button and open the terminal or PowerShell as an administrator. Follow the steps just like I'm doing on this virtual machine that Victor set up. As point number three, if you have user account control enabled, a confirmation screen will pop up. Just click on Yes. As point number four, you'll see that the terminal or PowerShell will open. Press Ctrl-V, the key combination, the little cheat that our boss, the lovely Kia, loves so much, to paste the command. As point number six, press Enter and the utility will run. Let's break down, as Victor says, the myths about this utility. A common misconception is thinking that this tool installs on your computer, but that's not the case. The tool is hosted online at christitus.com, and it only runs through PowerShell. So actually, nothing gets downloaded to your computer. When it launches, if it doesn't fit your monitor well, you can double-click on the blank space to make it full screen. And if you double-click again, it will minimize and fit better to your Windows. If we go to the settings and look at the About section, we can see the version number. This utility from Chris Titus could change over time, as we receive many updates from Microsoft on our Windows. So it's likely that in 1 or 2 years, the tool will look completely different, but its functionality will remain the same. Here we have many options and different configuration tabs. Let's start with the Installation tab. Here you can select a bunch of utilities to install on your computer. For example, if we select 7-Zip and click on Install, you'll notice that 2 windows open up. One is the graphical interface of the utility, and the other is a PowerShell window that shows the status of the process. The first time you install something, the utility will update WinUtil if it's outdated and download some necessary dependencies. When all the requirements are ready, it will start installing the package you selected. Once it's finished, if you check your computer, you'll see that 7-Zip is already installed. It's that simple. That's right, Victor. The interesting thing about this installation section, if you're someone who sets up a lot of computers, is that this Windows utility from Chris Titus Tech can really speed up the process and save you a ton of time. You can review and select all the utilities that you usually install on a computer. For example, in our case, we always install 7-Zip and Shell, the extended context menu on every PC. And obviously, you can select all the utilities you want. Then, click on the gear icon and select Export. Now, you can save this as a preset. I would save it on the desktop. We click on Save, and as you can see, you'll have the JSON file. If you want, you can save this file on a USB drive. That way, you'll always have access to it on different computers. Now, if we click on Clear Selection, you'll see that nothing is selected anymore. Then, if you click on the gear icon again and select Import, we will import that preset file and voila! All the utilities you chose will be selected automatically. It's great. Then you can click on Install and Update, Selected, and this also includes all the settings you would select, or basically anything else you choose in this utility. You can create a preset file so you don't have to go and manually select everything each time. Once you've done this, remember that on each computer, you can only import that preset with this utility. CTP from Chris Titus Tech opened and run in your PowerShell. This way, you'll be able to apply the settings and install the programs, which will save you a lot of time when setting up new computers. Let's move to the Settings tab. Here you can see several options available, But before running any of these settings, a default restore point will be created by clicking on Standard Selection. You also have many other useful settings, like deleting temporary files, disabling consumer features such as ads in Windows, turning off telemetry, activity history, game DVR, hibernation, the home group that no longer exists in Windows 10 or 11, and location tracking. And the sense of inherited storage, which is a network tunneling feature that can cause additional latencies. You can also disable Wi-Fi sense. Hovering over these settings gives you a little tip about what each one will do. Then, it will run the disk cleanup. And one of the latest additions in this version is replacing PowerShell 5 with PowerShell 7. In this example, we're not using a laptop, but if you wanted to use this tool on a portable device, you can set hibernation as the default option since it's good for them. Remember that if you select this option, it won't disable hibernation, which is one of the options listed up here. In this last setting, it sets the services to manual, which causes the least number of processes in Windows 10 and Windows 11. For example, right now, my computer has about 140 background processes running, and is using around 3 GB of RAM. If you run these settings, that number will drop to 70 or 80 processes, which will improve performance.
Also, Sol, I think we need to explore the advanced settings section. Could you detail each of its options so that the community understands their purpose and usefulness?
All right, Victor. Now let's go to the Advanced Settings tab. Here you can block the Adobe Network and Adobe Bloat, disable IPv6, turn off full screen options, disable Microsoft Copilot, and disable Intel AMT. Remember that for each of these options, you can hover over them to see exactly what they do. Let's continue. You can also disable notifications, although unfortunately this disables the calendar, because that's how Microsoft set it up. You can also set the screen for performance, the classic right-click menu, and the UTC time, which will be useful if you use Linux, although in this case, we won't select it. Let's continue. You can remove all the apps from the Microsoft Store. I don't recommend it unless you want to. Unattended Windows. If you make that decision, you can also remove Microsoft Edge and OneDrive. Once these settings are selected, we'll run it by clicking here, and as you can see in the terminal, we can see exactly what's happening. Let's wait for this process to finish. So while it's installing, you can see that the taskbar already looks different. And when I started this process, there are no more widgets on the taskbar, the search bar is gone, and then I see that I still have Edge. Here, as you can see, if I click on it, it doesn't open. So I can go ahead and unpin this and remove Microsoft Edge from Windows 10 and Windows 11. It will always be a headache. There will always be some kind of trace left on your computer. As you can see, it's in the pinned apps, but it doesn't start. So you'll have to go manually and unpin it from any menu you see. If you can't unpin Microsoft Edge from the All Apps menu, what you need to do is go to the file location and then delete the shortcut from the Programs folder in the Start menu. And then, if you go back, it should have disappeared from the list of apps in your Start menu. But as I said, you will always have some remnants of Microsoft Edge on your computer, because it is part of Windows. Completely removing it is very difficult. But when all these adjustments are finished, the adjustments will be finalized.
You're proud, aren't you? Finally, Sol, there's a tool with a pretty catchy name, right? ShutUp10. Could you explain what it is and how it can help us improve the performance and privacy of our PCs?
Something you mentioned, Victor, and it's great that you highlight it, is that there's a very interesting option in the Crystal Stitch app that few people analyze in depth. This tool lets you click a button to run O&O ShutUp10. If you're not familiar, clicking launches this software, which also helps you improve privacy on Windows. You can set the settings for the current user or for the local machine, and you'll see different configurations when switching between these two tabs. You can review each of them individually and decide what you want to disable or keep enabled. But basically, you can click on Actions and then apply the recommended settings or something suggested. If you proceed to apply the recommended settings, it means that your experience with Windows will remain stable. Applying all the settings could cause issues with some applications, and definitely applying all the settings might make some things not work properly in Windows. That's why I always recommend creating a system restore point before doing this. If something breaks, you can just go back to the restore point. Or you can also undo the changes and go back to the factory settings. But what the heck? Are we experiencing some community? And since it's not my PC, but Victor's, I'm going to apply all the settings because this is a test machine. And if something breaks, we'll see that too. But I'm not going to be that mean. I'm going to apply all the settings, and first I'll create a system restore point. Remember, please, Always create a restore point if you're doing this on your computer. I've finished the process, and as you can see, the settings have been applied to both the current user and the local machine. So now you can exit O&O ShutUp10. One point you should keep in mind is that some of these settings may revert after Windows updates, so you can go ahead and run O&O ShutUp10 again with the selected settings, and then you'll have all those privacy settings applied again. You'll also see that I'm prompted to restart Windows to apply all these changes, and we're going to do that at the end of this video. So I'm just going to close this window. But what I also wanted to mention is that you can use Chris Titus Touch's Windows utility after each Windows update. Because Windows Update tends to re-enable a lot of things you might not be aware of, so running this utility again after each update is recommended. Continuing with the utility, you can see that you also have some preferences here, where you can turn settings on or off in Windows. For example, if I click on the slider for the dark theme, the Windows dark theme gets activated. So, you'll see the dark start menu like the taskbar. You have a lot of preferences here that you can reuse and turn on or off as you like. For example, the Bing search in the Start button and Start menu. I'm going to turn it off because I don't want Bing search results in the Start menu. I can also enable the numlock on startup. You can show the default file extensions. You also have these docked windows for the assistance and mouse acceleration pop-up menus, which can be disabled. We need to enable search on the taskbar, enable widgets, the task view button, and sticky keys. So you can also add or activate the maximum performance plan. If you go to the Settings tab up here and click on Legacy Windows Panels, and then click on the Power panel, it will take you to this screen, where we will have the additional panels. Here you can enable the maximum performance plan on your computer, which can obviously give you better performance because it uses more power, and in turn provides maximum performance on high-end PCs. Let's move on to the settings. You can create a shortcut for a single utility and select the save location. So for example, if I save it on the desktop, then you'll have a shortcut to the Windows utility on your desktop. Now, if you go to the Settings tab, you can also install some features like the .NET Framework, Windows Subsystem for Linux, Windows Sandbox, and then you can enable the legacy boot recovery screen with F8, which we used to have in Windows 7. You have some solutions like setting up automatic login, resetting Windows Update, resetting the network, and running a system corruption scan with SFC. Scan now. If you're having problems with your computer, you can use this to try to fix it. Reinstall Wingit, remove Adobe Creative Cloud from your computer. So, as I showed you before, you can access the legacy control panel of all the Windows panels. So, for example, network connections, you can easily access this from here. You can easily access user accounts from within Chris Titus Touch's Windows utility. Let's head over to the Updates tab. What can we do here? Look, you can set up Windows settings, so you have the default configuration, which is just what any normal Windows installation will have. Then you have the recommended security settings. But one thing I want to mention here is that it says you'll delay updates for 2 years, and that you'll install the security update 4 days after its release. But according to the information, you can only delay updates for a year, so I think this tooltip might be incorrect. Here you only apply security updates, so you can set it up in those update settings. Or you can remove all updates. As you can see, it's not recommended, because then you won't receive security updates. But some people don't worry about that and will remove the updates. But for this video, I'm going to select the security settings. So if I click, the recommended update settings have loaded, and I'll just click OK. And finally, we have the MicroWin tab. This project, within the Windows utility by Chris Titus TET, allows you to upload a Windows 11 ISO file. You'll see all the instructions. Here, basically, you can remove elements from the Windows image, like telemetry and tracking, add the ability to use local accounts, remove the Wi-Fi requirement to complete the installation, and you have the ability to remove Edge and Teams, as well as uninstall applications. The process is a bit different, as you mount the ISO file and then the scripts run on the Windows image. Then, the Windows image is repackaged into the target ISO file, and you can use this ISO file to install Windows. So you can create a customized ISO file with MicroWin. It's similar to how Tiny11 Builder works, where you provide a Windows ISO file, and then all the scripts run on the Windows image. Because it's mounting in DISM, then it repackages that Windows image into the ISO file, which is generally also much smaller than the official Windows ISO file. Another great thing that Chris Titus and the developers have added here is that you have the ability to add drivers to this Windows ISO file. Finally, Victor, thanks to this tool, if you ask me personally, Many who work in the tech industry might consider it a good project to keep in mind, because it will also help you create a customized Windows ISO file that you can use to prepare many different computers. If I haven't missed anything, I think that would be the most important and relevant points about this tool. With this, we conclude the review of Chris Tidestech's utility. If you have any questions, you can check the documentation or try the settings on a virtual machine before applying them to your computer.
With this analysis, we have unraveled the secrets of this optimization tool, breaking those myths, those legends, and revealing its true potential. Now, the community has the knowledge needed to be able to decide how to improve your system safely and efficiently.
Sure, Victor. I want to thank everyone for joining us on this journey. I hope you found all the information useful and feel encouraged to try out these tools. Remember that you can always count on me to keep exploring and learning together. Until next time, and have an amazing day.
But guys, my friends, this is not where the story ends. This technology is evolving. Now that I've dived in, I've taken that good plunge. Along with the wise Kira, the patron of this channel. Wow. Some pretty iconic things are coming. An AI explaining information technologies. If you like this and how Sol explained it, because she really explained it better than I did, guys. And, well, he did a complete analysis of the tool. I've seen this analysis on other channels as well, from other collaborators and friends and colleagues in this field, but everything is segmented. Everything is in parts, on different channels. Now, everything has been completely centralized. The next legendary optimization is waiting for you. Are you ready to join us at the next level of O&O? See you in the next video. Sure, bye.